Welcome to the Smash Podcast with Adam Smash Smith. I'm your host, Shaheen Azizi.
Change a whole school's attitude, and for me, it's something that I constantly work on. And what I got to do, honestly, is use a podcast like this so I can help my other instructors to understand some of these learning tools as well, so that we're all on the same page. So this is just as much of a teaching tool for my students as it is a cool opportunity for me to be able to see if anybody else wants to hear what I got to talk about.
Well, as long as we can get them the information they need in a wonderful, digestible, bunch.
Well, that's the thing. I get a lot of people actually that ask me about my teaching and stuff like that, and they compliment me on what I'm able to do with the kids out there. And, like I said, it's not even about them doing super awesome jiu-jitsu and martial arts all the time or winning all the gold medals, because not everybody's able to put as much into it, but it's about, I tell you what, making an environment that everybody's welcome in and that anybody can learn. And so with that, you're not going to get everybody to be a killer. And when you go out to some tournaments and stuff like that, it's a lot of times the kids that are like killers that are the ones winning and stuff. So anyways, you just can't judge your school based on the medals and stuff like that. It's really, I guess, for me, how impactful I'm able to make for the students' lives. I was the kid that grew up with, my instructor was like my complete role model, and so I wouldn't even be doing what I'm doing today without just watching him be the person that he was. And, because of that, I still look back and think about the things that he taught me, or things that I was able to implement in my life to help me and stuff like that. And times I knew I wasn't even doing the best things because I knew right and wrong, and I had learned them from him. So I like to, reference those times in my life instead of just necessarily all the gold medals and stuff, because I won quite a bit of trophies in martial arts when I grew up, and my office has a lot of medals, and none of that means as much to me now as those pieces of logic that I learned along the way that not only I can teach other people but use to help so many other people's lives. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that would be the main takeaway when someone looks in your office and they just see how many trophies and plaques and these swords and a large, they come in many forms, right? You have all these belts, and everybody's trying to aspire to get a larger belt size, and obviously everybody wants to be a black belt like you, so that isn't the initial thing that they see. But if you don't learn that along the way, then you're probably not going to get to a black belt.
Yeah, it is funny, I guess, especially just pointing that out is, at one point I use my office as a teaching tool, especially for new students, because when somebody comes into the school, they want to know who it is, the person that's leading the school, and just a little bit about them. So to me, there's a time and a place to show off your stuff, and that would be in my office. And that's because then I get to bring people in there and they can see what I'm about, what I've accomplished. And nothing short of a doctor, when you walk into a doctor's office and you sit down with them and you look up on their walls, they have their, professional certificates and their college degrees and stuff hanging up on the wall, just like they are trophies. And so it's one of those things that kind of goes back to setting the attitude by using some environmental tools. And my office is one of those first impression things that a new student comes in, I'm able to say, hey, this is me. This is what I'm about. I know how to do this stuff. I'm not fake at this. This isn't something I just started yesterday or anything like that, but I'm really into this. And then by that time you capture somebody's attention and they're able to think about training under you, and then you show them the rest of your facility and start from there.
Yeah, I guess if you don't have that, how do you show somebody a snapshot without giving them a 4-hour lecture on what it is you offer, right?
Right. No, exactly. And that's it. Somebody can, that's exactly it.
Like, hold on. Tell me about the time you beat this guy here, because I need to know about it.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, because I'm not one of those people that likes to sit in there and go tell everybody about everything I've done over my whole life, because I just don't have the attention span for that even. But they can walk into my office real quick and say, hey, look, this guy knows what he's talking about and knows what he's doing. And then if they haven't heard anything about me before, they helps to make a determination of if I'm legit or not, I guess, if you want to call that. So.
Yeah. Are you too legit to quit?
Yeah, obviously not, because I'm still doing it 2 hip surgeries later.
Good gracious. The bionic
Yeah, a bionic teacher. That's what I'm going to be, just like the robo teacher. I think one of my students was saying. So,
Robo teacher.
yeah, robot teacher kind of thing, But it's nice to be able to joke about that real life stuff with students, because at the same time I'm going through something that's pretty significantly rough on my own mentality and stuff. But I'm able to teach the kids with this opportunity. Not only that you can have to go through something pretty significant and come back stronger or better or still accomplish your goals, even when you really think that you're down and out. But I know that setting that example, even if the kids are watching, and I really know that because I was that student that watched everything my instructor did. He didn't have to tell me everything he was doing, because we watched it and we saw what he was going through, and when he'd win and when he'd have a hard time and stuff, and he had to go through divorces in his life and still came back and started schools that were bigger and stronger after one wife had taken everything from him and everything that he had, and so I learned a lot just by his example. And I realized that now, if I get the chance to set that example, my students are watching me every day. This is something that I got to use to be a good teacher, because it's not just something that I do when I'm on the mat.
Yeah, you're embodying what it means to be the quintessential role model.
Yeah, and I always joked before, as people would tell me, my instructor kind of instilled it in me when I was starting to learn about a lot of teaching techniques. I've been studying to be a teacher through martial arts since I was like 14 years old, and some of these principles that I talk about and things that are it's real science, it's real psychology. You can talk to a psychologist and ask them about the way you should speak to a child, or the way that you should set up an environment with the colors and everything that can be conducive to learning, the people, the way that they talk, the facial expressions and stuff like that. Those are real tips that actually make a huge impact on the way that somebody's able to do teach effectively. And so the more that you can keep those things in your head, the easier it is to teach. But the stress never changes. I shouldn't say that, because I still walk out every day like, man, that was a really rough, tiring day after I teach a bunch of 3 and 4 year old classes and stuff like that. But it's because I put my full energy into it from the time that classes are going. It's go time. So it's making sure that I'm listening to everything that's going on in the academy, the people that are walking through the door, everybody bowing on the floor appropriately, making sure little Billy doesn't, go to the bathroom on the floor because he's starting to do the potty dance and stuff like that,
Oh my goodness.
If you're not able to stay aware of all that stuff, then this facility doesn't become conducive for everybody to learn effectively. So making sure that I can try to take care of as much of that little stuff that seems little actually helps everybody learn so much better. So I learned to pay attention to a lot of those little things and I tell you what, when it comes down to teaching 3 and 4 year olds, I have a pretty good reputation. If anybody wants to come watch, they can. I love it when people come to watch, because they're always like, geez, how do you get those kids to listen? And isn't it like herding cats? That's the thing that always gets, like herding cats. And I'm like, no, actually it's not. These kids stand at attention and they hands flat by their side. They say yes sir, no sir, and but it's also about, I understand like the realistic expectations of what I should be trying to get out of them as a teacher. Everything from how long they can stand still to how long they need to be able to play within the class time to still enjoy the class, and then how much time that they need to make sure that we get an actual lesson or some learning times through. So even my classes are down to a systematic time frame that has to do with making sure that the children or the people learn most effectively, because even if you're teaching adults, it's like the adults need some bit of fun in the class in order for them to want to come back. Luckily in our jiu-jitsu classes for adults, our fun a little bit is choking people, which is kind of, whatever. And everybody loves it and stuff. So we got to use that. But that's why sometimes we use like games and, things like that. We definitely use in the kids class, I tell them, we don't call them games. They're training exercises, because their parents don't pay me to play games. They pay me to teach them to be warriors.
You gotta give that.
So, I set the tone a little bit with some of that talk for them also, that makes them feel like, what, but in the realistic aspect, some of those tag exercises and stuff we are doing are working on these coordination skills that are like actual high level stuff. Things you look at then American Ninja Warrior and stuff, and those competitions and athletic competitions where you need to be really nimble and stuff. So they're training exercises, and so for the kids to understand that they can have fun when they're training is cool experience to be able to share with them. So
No, yeah, that's not the first thing a parent is going to think about that they're going to get out of that training course. They think they're taking their kid to learn self-defense.
Right,
Not that that's not part of it. Obviously, that's like the outcome, but it's through so many other channels, right?
It is, and part of the problem nowadays with people is that they understand they want so much more instant gratification. They want to see their kid get the next belt right away. They want to see them get the trophy right away. They want to see them, these marking, like events they want to happen, and they want them to happen in their timeline, which sucks because you can get somebody that comes in and has maybe did martial arts before in their past, and they understand, hey, I want my kid to do real martial arts where they have to earn their belts, and they have to really make sure that they're doing the stuff the right way before they just get their promotion. And great, you want to make sure that you appease that family and that student, because that's what I like. That's how I worked on my stuff, with a lot of practice and not having to necessarily get the rewards of like a belt or stripes and stuff. But then you get these parents that come in and they want their child to just get the stripes, and they just want to see it so they can post it on social media and say, hey, look at my kid, looks so cool, blah, 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 blah. But they don't necessarily celebrate those times when their child made a good choice or something like that, made a good decision. Hey, little Billy did a really good job working with his brother today and showed courage today. I'm so proud of him. It's they want to see a medal and stuff like that. So it's kind of weird how we even there's some of people don't realize that they're like subliminally messaging their children with like this pseudo you have to have a medal to be successful ideology, right? And instead it's like, no, you actually need to work on these principles, and we're going to reward you when you do something like show respect or good self-control for a day, or good I make sure even in class, it's kind of one of these other principles that I talk about with teaching. It's rewarding some of the kids with like a high five or a verbal, acknowledgement when they make a good choice of helping out their partner, being a nice friend, doing something the right way. And then you start to hear these kids and they want to run up to me and tell me about this, things that they did in the day and stuff like that. And a lot of times when they do something good and making sure cognitively that I acknowledge it appropriately for that student. Even if I'm having the worst day ever, little Billy comes up and tells me that he got a gold star at school today because he was a good listener, or shows me a student of the month. I got to be so stoked about that thing. You know what I'm saying? And I got to give him the appropriate time. It's not one of those things you can just look at it in 2 seconds, say, good job, Billy, and turn away and give it back to him, making sure that I acknowledge it for the amount of time that I can see makes them realize that it's special. And every kid's different. Some kids, you're like, oh, dude, that's epic. And, blah, blah, blah. And some kids, you take it in front of the whole class and you say, listen, little Billy got the student of the month this month, and maybe because that kid hadn't got that student of the month for a long time because he's been struggling, with his attitude and stuff, and the first time he gets student of the month, like, guess what? Everybody in the whole class is celebrating that student of the month too, because we're going to reinforce the fact that this kid is doing a good job. And then, just by that kind of stuff, that's not something that people necessarily take value in so much anymore when they're analyzing what's going on in the program for their child. I had this really rough time because two parents last week came up to me and they just told me how their kids were, playing softball, or one was playing baseball and stuff. And they said, oh, the coach cursed at the kids the other day, said the F-bomb at the kids the other day. And they're like 7-year-old kids and stuff because he was all frustrated,
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, a lot of these little leagues and stuff, they have people that are coaching that just don't know how to coach. They don't have the time.
Old school baseball player.
Yeah, old school baseball players or guys that just got off work and they've had a rough day at work and now they got to go teach all the kids, their baseball and stuff, and then they start getting frustrated because little Billy's picking his nose or doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? And because it's not their full-time job, it makes it a little harder for them to like calm down and relax and make sure they analyze the situation the right way and also react and stuff. And they just take the short way out, which is like, a verbal, reprimand or whatever they want to do if somebody's not doing the right thing, and or get, verbally aggressive, things like that. Or even just a tone of voice can all of a sudden change the whole tone of everything. It doesn't have to be the F word. All of a sudden you see that, okay, this coach is being really aggressive when they're speaking to the kids. Like, and do I want my child to be around somebody that talks aggressively like that, every single practice? Probably not, maybe not, but people, pretend or forget that they know what's best, and that they should be looking at that instead of just saying, hey, my kid's playing baseball and I'm going to take a picture of him in his cute pants.
Yeah, exactly.
I see that that's the thing with the moms all the time. It's just they're so stoked about their uniform and all this stuff like that, and just watching their kid play the game out there and look like a baseball player, than more or less like what's actually the environment that they're in,
Just not this quantifiable badge of success, right? Like, oh, you have the thing or the hat that goes with it, or here's the uniform, here's the first place trophy, here's I took my kid to the tournament, but did you attempt to maybe learn about what he's going to do so you can talk him up and get him in the mindset of it beforehand? Or
and that's just exactly
show
that.
concern in what the kid has to do, not just take him there.
Right. That's that's the thing is really it's like people want this, just like you said, a quantifiable thing. They really want to see like student of the month, or they want to see like a gold star, or they want to see like, this like certain piece of paper of like, this is the accomplishment. And it's really just because they want that so that they can show like other people, and stuff. And, for me, it's about acknowledging that stuff like right there personally with the kid, like, and so that they know, because for one, I know that I'm their role model. They look up to me, the black belt, the teacher and stuff like that, or some of the other teachers that are around there. And when they look up to them, then they say, man, I want that person to acknowledge me, look me in the eyes and say, hey, you did a great job. Give me a high five and stuff. That means so much to the kids, And then, every few months we do our, we do a student get together and we hand out those awards of like courage and, perseverance award and stuff. But on that daily basis, it's, which one of these coaches fits the kids right, and how can we make sure that we're celebrating their accomplishments the right way, instead of necessarily having them to be like a gold medal.
Exactly. Just acknowledgement and I mean, attention means something, right? Because you get attention for all sorts.
Yeah, time means everything. Kids know that time means everything. That you give them your time, they understand.
They get it, and so that's why some kids act out, not to jump off the tracks, but just to show that they'll do things for attention. Now, what they're going to do, that's 100%. A whole other ball game, right?
100%. It's a controlling thing, and it's a thing that that's exactly it. Why you throw a tantrum and stuff like that's to control time, because they understand the essence of time. So, and a lot of times that's, you can look at psychology and people talk about, hey, this kid's trying to take the time because their dad's not there for them or something like that. And so now he's trying to take time from other people somewhere, maybe acting out at school. So then, principals involved, or maybe another male influence or something like that. But, just even that reprimanding of like that male influence, like I was that kid, like honestly, I was literally, if you ask my mom, I was the kid that was like acting out, no dad, would do stuff just because it was like, I want people to notice me, and we were poor, and it was whatever, just want to be the funny guy. But
there's a way to reverse engineer in some capacity to understand why something is occurring, right? What road led us to this spot. And if you follow us on the next episode, you can find more into the mind of Adam Smith.